The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Everett, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32501. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper. Starting on the passenger side of the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns on the left and right side. Just inward of that location, you'll find your siren PA speaker. Just off the frame rails, you'll find two closed tow hooks. Then as we move to the side, on the bumper extension, you'll find a side-facing emergency light. Let's move up onto the top of the bumper where you have a covered storage location. This does tilt in the upward position. Once we've accessed inside, we'll go over those in just a few moments. On the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the face of the vehicle, you'll find on the outer edges marker lights and LED turn indicators. Just inside, you'll find your low and high beam headlights. Up from that, you'll find a set of emergency lights. And just on the outer edge, you'll find your side-facing turn camera. Up from that location, directly in the center, you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving up onto the windshield area, you'll find windshield wipers on the right and left side, passenger and driver side. Moving up from that, you'll find 5 running lights across the brow of the apparatus. Just on top of the apparatus, you'll find a slightly angled emergency warning light on the passenger and driver side. And then just up above that, you'll find a focused or narrow beamed spotlight. This is your go light. On the side, you do have some side-facing floodlights. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those items we just talked about a little bit closer up. This is the front bumper display. Moving inside, as we move that cover to the open position, you'll find a tubbed storage location, also with an access cover. This is the removable cover that we just talked about. Moving to the outside edge here, this is your headlight cluster turn indicator. This is the side-facing cameras. There are cameras on the passenger and driver side. Let's start as we look at the bucket. Underneath the bucket, you'll find 2 downward-facing floodlights. Just inside of that location on the very front, you'll find 3 running lights. Moving up to the top, you'll find 3 emergency warning lights. Moving up just above those lights, you're going to find 2 2.5-inch ball valve discharges. The passenger side discharge at the thread is reduced down to 1.5 inches. You'll also find your large diameter master stream device located in the center. Just to the right of that master stream device in the image, you'll find this red lock. This is for your ground ladder lock attachment point. Just above that, you'll find your Opticom. Moving to the center, to the outside edges first, you're going to find 2 door locks. These are to gain access in and out of your bucket area. And in the center, you'll find a forward-facing flood. Just to the left of that in the image, you'll find your intercom speaker. On the side, you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving underneath, you'll find 2 attachment points. There's also a warning label there on those attachment points. Please see your owner's manual for more information. There is a downward sprinkler located in the center. On the opposite side, you'll find a drain. There are 2 bumpers located in the very front. On the outside edges, you'll find your 2 downward-facing floodlights. And then you also have 2 panels which are accessible for under work operation as far as maintenance. Let's move to the driver's area. This is the step well. You'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp shoreline plug. When it's plugged in, your auto charger will resume power, charging your battery system. To the right, you'll find your air inlet. This is your air inlet for the vehicle. Then you'll also find you have a air outlet with an air shutoff. This is a turn, not a pull. Let's move now to the side of the vehicle. In the first compartment behind the front doors, you'll find an additional storage location. At the very top of this, you'll find 12-volt access point, which is a breaker. Moving downward, you do have a smaller compartment here just to the rear section of the cab. Let's go ahead and move now to the actual body of the apparatus. We'll start just underneath. There are 2 release points here to release the step mechanism here. As we move upward, you'll find a pull-out shelf. The release mechanism is on the right-hand side of that. And then as we move all the way up to the very top, you'll find an additional shelf here which has a gray latch for releasing it. There is a toolbox located on the left side. Those are just simply grab and pull locks. As we move upwards from that location, here is that release mechanism for that pull-out shelf. On the left-hand side, there are some warning labels here regarding not to ride on. This is a fall hazard warning label. And then just beneath that, there are also cab lift instructions for raising and lowering your cab. As we look to that cab lift, you do have a danger sticker here regarding your danger to you, and then to the right you have a caution. Just above that you'll find the center point plug. This is where you would plug in the remote to operate the cab lift remotely. At the very top there is the raise lower switch, and then down to the lower left you'll find the activation switch. As we move just to the right in this same compartment, you'll find tool storage attachment points. You'll also find LED lighting in all of the compartments on the right and left side of the compartment. Your vehicle is also equipped with a track system which allows you to adjust your shelving upward or downward. And your vehicle is also equipped with a ventilation system, and that's the tube at the very top for recirculating air. There are 2 motors for this, a passenger and a driver's side. Here's a better close-up of those here. Be cautious, this is a danger area. That is a squirrel cage that is in rotation when in operation. Just above that, you're going to find a 200-foot reel rewind. That is an electrical cord reel. As we're on to the outriggers, there are some warning labels here regarding crush injury. There are also some danger indications here regarding electrocution because of that aerial ladder being in an upright position. Also, you should seek your owner's manual before operating any of this vehicle. That's what this sticker is for. As we move to the center, you do have a pegged tool board and the release mechanism down in the lower section. Let's direct ourselves up to the very top by the wheel chock in the upper section. This is where you're going to find your auto charge system when plugged into shore power. This is a 20 amp outlet to maintain your batteries. You do have that cord reel rewind, once again 20 amp 200 feet. As we look to the vehicle on the side, we'll talk a little bit about some of the items here. First, on the left, this pan door is for your DEF. And there is also SCBA bottle storage locations. We do have, once again, those warning labels here regarding danger for electrocution, and then also that you should use your owner's manual prior to operating the vehicle. Your DEF, which is the blue cap, 4.5 US gallons. As we move further back, you'll find bottle storage locations. There are 4 bottle locations here with retaining straps. The center does lift up. Let's move now further back onto the compartments. These are over the rear wheels. You do have ultra low sulfur diesel fuel only. It's going to be the silver cap just behind the rear wheel. Down at the very base, you'll find a section here for attachment of equipment. This is a 6,000 pound pull point. Just to the right, you'll find your pads for your outriggers. As we move up in the compartment, the lower section here is a pull-out shelf, and the release is on your right. This is the 6,000 pound allowable winch rating. As we move just forward to this location, just to the rear of this location is where you'll find the storage location for your pads for your outriggers. Above this, directly at the top, you're going to find a side-facing floodlight. This is an LED light. And just a general view of your Everett Fire Department logo on the top of your aerial ladder. Let's move now toward the front cab. This is just above the roll-up compartment door. You have additional storage locations. Those are 2 D handles. They must be twisted simultaneously to gain access into this compartment. General side view of the apparatus. Let's point to the very rear. This is a fold-down ladder. This is the mechanism which allows you to release that ladder. Just beneath that, you'll also find an inclinometer. This is from front to rear. And then you also have grab handles to go inside. When closing that ladder, make sure it's securely closed, otherwise it'll operate the do not move the truck light. You also have rear lights. This is going to be a turn, brake, and reverse. And then just above that on the side, you're going to find you have floodlights also to the rear, and this is a switch for that, in addition with a rear-facing emergency light. Let's move now just slightly to the right of that driver's side floodlight. That's the cupped switch for that location. But in this pan compartment, you'll also find
the access for controlling your outriggers, and that's what this compartment is here for. There is a warning label on the left regarding that aerial stability hazard. In the round mushroom switch here, this is your emergency stop. Next to it there's a light. You do have a protected override switch, and then to the right you'll find your stabilizer power, which will be illuminated in green. All the way to the far right is the diagnostic interface, and then just below is going to be your remote control. Let's take a look at the rear section of the apparatus. This is for your water system. This is your aerial inlet with a gauge. Just to the right of that, this is the main inlet for the aerial. And then further to the right, there is a warning label here regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing a pressurized cap. So seek that information in your owner's manual. Down at the very bottom, left to right, this is going to be an inclinometer. And then you'll find a pan door here. This is to gain access to your aerial drain. And then to the far right, you do have additional attachment points. There is a warning label here regarding the direction of pull on those attachment points. Close-ups here, right to left stabilization. You want to be in the green section. There is yellow and also red. This is your aerial inlet. As we look inside the compartment for the aerial drain, the lower section is the aerial drain. It's a ball valve. This should never be capped. As we look up to the very top, you'll also find your relief valve for your aerial and a set screw. In the very back center section, you'll find your ground ladders and also long tool equipment, and a caution label here regarding to make sure you flip this up to ensure your ladders do not move outward. On the right hand side, you'll find your deck lights, passenger side floodlight cups, and then as we look to the passenger side, this is in between the ladder. When the ladder is in the open position, you'll gain access here to a set of valves. There is a tipping warning hazard here because you may be short jacking one side, and also a danger label. This is your aerial emergency power switch. You switch between stabilizers or aerial, and then these are the associated rear stabilizers for manual control and also front stabilizer for manual controls. This is a close-up. You can select either aerial emergency power or stabilizer emergency power. As we look to the base of the ladder, you'll find your air system. This is for refilling location, and then this is going to be the increase or decrease for your regulator for that air. That's for your breathing air. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side of the ladder, you'll find additional storage location. This is near the pedestal area. As we look inside, you'll also find aerial device manual controls. Those are the three valves here for extend, retract, right, left, and lower and raise. As we move to the pedestal, this is going to be on the driver's side of the vehicle. Once again, a few warning labels here. One is going to be a fall protection. There's also the possibility of crush, and that's what those two labels are for. There's also an audible speaker here that can be dampened by turning the outer edge of the bezel from left to right. And then you do have access to your calibration control here. Make sure you use your owner's manual prior to operating anything in that compartment. On the top inside the pedestal area, you'll find warning and danger labels here. Your vehicle is equipped with a protective cover over the Pierce module. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few moments. On the left, you have an emergency stop. Moving downward, you have your tracking lights. These are the lights that shine on the outer edges of the ladder toward the tip. You also have additional lighting under the basket for lighting the rear basket area and also the front basket area. You do have aerial speed for slow, normal, and fast. So we move all the way up to the top, you'll find your manual basket leveling disable, and then you also have your emergency hydraulic power. This is going to be your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information here just at your fingertips. Please see your owner's manual for more information and use on this piece of equipment. Underneath the cover, you'll also find your nozzle control on the left-hand side, ladder controls on the right for retract, extend, right and left, lower and raise. Toward the front of the pedestal, you will find your intercom system. This is the power on the lower section, volume, and then a push for listen or talk. As you look to the left-hand side of the cover, you're going to find your 100-foot steel aerial platform load chart. 500 pounds wet, 1,000 dry, and a 2,000 GPM waterway. That's at a 35-mile-an-hour wind. There are also some information here regarding nozzle positions, and at the very bottom there's some information here that are asterisked regarding icing. Refer to your owner's manual. On the left, you have the specifications for setup as per NFPA 1911. On the left-hand side of the ladder, you'll find an inclinometer from 0 to 80 and also from 0 to 10 below. General view here of your 3-section ladder. You'll also find on the fly section an additional roof ladder. Let's take a look now at some of the other options here. You will find at the very tip area you have an additional tool. Moving up to the front section, you'll find storage locations for your attachments. And then as we look to the actual bucket itself, on the back side, you'll find 2 pole lights. These are extendable. They're also LED lights. And there is also storage on the passenger and driver's side. Let's look in the very front section of the aerial ladder. You'll find first an emergency stop. Just down from that emergency stop, you'll find your aerial speed. Once again, these are all the same options that are at the pedestal. And then you'll find your manual basket leveling. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find all of your under basket, front, and rear lighting. And then the next section down, you'll find nozzle controls. Down just beneath that, you'll find when plugged into shore power, these outlets will activate. Here's just a close-up of those items that we just talked about. You can see they're broken down into certain subsections here: nozzle control, lighting, emergency, and also basket. As we move to the center, these are your ladder controls. This module is removable. It can be pulled out and moved to different locations, and we'll talk about that in a moment. This is your Pierce command zone. Once again, tremendous amount of information here right at your fingertips. Just beneath that, you'll find breathing air outlets, and then you'll also find just above that, you'll find the safety clips for operating with inside the bucket. Let's take a look in this section. You're also going to find right next to the breathing air, this is that audible alarm. It does have a bezel control for volume. In the very front, you'll find the speaker here for your intercom system. General view here of the nozzle assembly. Let's take a look just inside the bucket area. We'll identify a few things. First, those are those module control locations where you can move that control module for your ladder. They'll slide into those positions. You also have a chainsaw scabbard here, and then there are also some warning labels here on the back side. You also have that same 100-foot steel aerial platform load chart located inside the bucket also. That's what the arrow is indicating there. Once again, chainsaw scabbard. And then of course there's some warning labels here, and then also that once again you should seek the owner's manual prior to operation. We're now moving around to the passenger side of the vehicle. Pretty much the same identical layout. Once we go through this, I'll identify anything that's different or unique on this side. Once again, 4 SCBA bottle storage locations with retention straps. I would like to point out here that there is a danger label regarding electrocution hazard. What I'd like to also point out is this lower section here, warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust. Be careful as to where you park your vehicle. As we move to the next compartment forward, this is just over the rear wheel. We'll move inside. This is a combination of electrical components. First, this is your continuous power supply. This is going to be for your generator when operation. That's what these breakers are for. Here's the information on that breakdown of that continuous power supply. This is for your own end generator. G1 stands for generator. These are the individual breakers for that location. And then as we move to the right, you're going to find the S1A. These are shore power. When plugged in, these receptacles will operate also. This is going to be your Cummins owning generator. This is the information on the amps for lines 1 and 2. You can also scroll through the menu. General view here of some of the compartments here. Let's move now to the forward section. This is going to be a pull-out section here for tools, and then also in this compartment houses the main disconnect. This is for all of your electrical power. Just underneath you can also find that reel rewind, same as it is on the other side, 200 feet. Let's now move to the next compartment forward. You're going to find 3 pull-out, slightly different mechanism here from operating that pull-out. The black handle is the release mechanism. As we go to the lower section, this is a push level to remove that lower shelf. Also mounted in this compartment, you'll find additional tool mounting. Just some close-ups of this same compartment. We're in the same compartment still. Upper section, those are the outlets. Now let's move back to the outside of the vehicle. This is just on the cab itself, same side as the opposite layout, small compartment here. As we move inside the cab, this is the rear section of your cab. You'll find warning labels regarding seatbelt usage on all points of entry. As we look inside, you'll find these netting. Just above the netting, you'll find the compartment light for a switch, and then also mounted underneath those rear seats, you'll find LED light boxes. As we move overhead, you'll find your control system for your David Clark. This is for your headset system. And then you also have additional audible speakers. This is directly behind the driver's seat. At the rear section, you'll find all of your fluid checks for your transmission and also oil for the daily checks. As we look to the rear, this is a sliding compartment with LED lighting and adjustable shelving. And as we look to the very front seat, passenger side, you'll find storage locations for map books and other detailed information. The foot level, you'll find your mechanical siren. This is the foot pedal for that. As we look up to the front dash area, your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system. That is the SRS. Please do not block that area or mount anything within that area. As we look to the console in the center, you'll find your radio push to talk. You'll find 12-volt barrel style, and then just next to it, you'll find the Blue C. This is your USB style 12-volt access. You do have a protected parking brake, and then just in front of that, you'll find your vehicle data recorder. Let's go ahead and go overhead of the driver's seat. There are some modules that we'll talk about here. First, let's start with the set of switches on the far right-hand side. This is going to be, when activated, the green light will turn on or red, depending on what color switch you're activating. Driver's side flood, tip lights, deck lights, passenger side flood, your perimeter lights, and then in the very far in the red, this is going to be a siren brake for your mechanical siren. As we move toward the center, you'll find additional modules here. This is your Motorola radio. Moving to the left, you'll find siren control and your PA system. Let's move to the center console area where you'll find a set of switches here. We'll talk about those in some detail in a moment. You do have two control, one for the passenger and one for the driver. This is for that high intensity spotlight, the go light. Located underneath that, you'll find 3 barrel style, and then to the left, you'll find a 12-volt USB. Those switches are for your load manager, fuel prime, and your tire chains. Let's move to the driver's area. Once again, point of entry, you're going to find warning labels here. There's also a seatbelt warning label. Those seatbelts are red in color for ease identification of people having them on. I would like to point out, difficult to see in this image because of the angle, but just next to this area, you'll find your placard. This is the manufactured by Pierce for the city of Everett. This is a manufacturing date of January of 2019. It does have the job number here, 5-digit number, has gross vehicle weight ratings, tire pressures, VIN number, and also all of your fluid capacities, types, and also the amounts. Down in the lower left area for the operator, you'll find your mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move up about the left knee, we'll talk about these items next. Let's start at the very top with the on-off switch. This is your power on and off for your batteries. It's the red switch. As we move down, you'll find 4 switches here: engine, inhibit, and also your regen and ABS and engine diagnostic switches. These are all for maintenance personnel. To the right green, you'll find your ABS diagnostic port. You also have a display port plug-in, and then also your tech module. Once again, these are going to be for your service personnel that are servicing the vehicle. Just up from this location, you'll find a set of switches. These rocker switches house your aerial master, the aerial PTO, and the platform leveling. Stabilizer lasers. These are going to be the identifiable lasers that point toward the ground where your stabilizers will be placed for easy visual identification, and then your generator PTO. On the right knee area of the operator, you're going to find your axle differential lock, and then also the Q2B disconnect. Moving up to the left-hand side driver's seat, once again, you're going to find the hazard lights, start switch, and ignition. To the right, you'll find a small switch labeled EM, Emergency Master. Those are for your emergency lights, headlight control, and panel rocker switch. As we move to the dash on the left, you'll find your transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temperature. The 2 gauges located directly in the center, your tachometer and speedometer. And to the right, you're going to find voltage, front air, rear air, and then your fuel levels. There's also helpful diagnostic information above and below the speedometer. To the right, you'll find you're okay to engage the high idle and a green indicator. And then further to the right, you're going to find your Pierce command zone. Further down, or slightly to the right, I should say, this is going to be your climate control for the heat defrost and also air conditioning. Set of switches, which I have a close-up of, kind of hard to read in this situation. Some caution warning labels here, just underneath those switches also. Your Allison transmission pad, your radio push-to-talk. This is for your communication device for talking to your dispatchers. To the right, you'll also find flat and convex mirror controls. Close up here of the set of switches. Let's go over some of those. First, an engine brake on and off, engine brake low, medium, and high. You also have off-road traction and also your mirror heat. There are also a few warning labels and caution labels located at the very bottom. Tire chains not above 25, and also retarder when it comes to slippery surfaces. Your Allison transmission pad. Let's move down here to the right side of the operator. You'll find your mirror controls. Overhead of the operator, this yellow placard, height 12 feet, 2.5 inches, length at 46 feet, 9.5 inches, gross vehicle weight rating at 78,000 pounds. You also have your 5-digit job number located here. If you make any changes to your vehicle that affect this, please change this placard. Slightly to the right of that placard, you're going to find the emergency master. Same master switch as that smaller one down at the panel. Opticom, cab roof warning, lower warning only. And then you have an air horn switch, and then once again the red protected kind of identifier switch, you have a siren brake. Let's move slightly to the right. You're going to find your driver's side flood, tip lights, deck lights, passenger side flood. You also have side scene, which is in the lower section, and then also a perimeter light, and those perimeter lights should activate when your door is opened. Let's move slightly to the right. You'll find your traffic advisor. You can see it's got a high, off, and low, and then the different settings. Overhead, you'll find push on and off red and white lights over the passenger and driver's seat. Located in the center, you'll find a red flashing light with a label that says "Do not move." That's in case you have a compartment door open or ajar. Congratulations, Everett, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32501. If you have any questions as to the content of this video, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you.